they expose their own web service. Okay. And also they can consume others' web service. So there are methods which are exposed in the system that actually follow some protocol. Okay, so there are some protocols which are common for all the system, right?
Okay.
For let's say we have this trailhead, right? So just going to this because we will only cover the services related to Salesforce, right? So Salesforce or any majorly all system exposes only two kind of APIs for the integration. First is SOAP API or second is REST API. Okay. So most of the system, let's say you have built your own website. Okay. I'm talking about website because it is a minor level of development. Okay. Nowadays.
Okay.
So as a website, if you have exposed your own APIs, so might be you have created your web service, which is SOAP API, or if you have gone through that REST service. Okay. So that your services will be exposed to the external system, or if it is built on top of Java or .NET, right? So Java or .NET or even the PHP, right? So these languages support web services. You can create your sorry own web services in these languages. So whichever languages support server side languages, they mostly support a web service. Okay. So you can create your own web service in your Java application, and you can call that web service into Salesforce. Or similar way, the Salesforce web services can be called into Java application or .NET application. Okay.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
Okay. So majorly what happens is like whenever a system or application, whenever they create any kind of service, they have a domain. Okay. They have a domain. So in the domain, so when Salesforce want to consume any external service, the first condition has to be satisfied is that you have to register their domain into your systems to allow their services to get connected into Salesforce. Okay. Am I clear? So we have a setting called remote site setting. So in this example, these particular domains have exposed their own service. Okay. So this URL has to be registered into the Salesforce so that Salesforce should allow the methods from these domains. Okay. So we have to register these domains or to put in our remote site settings to saying that, okay, I am ready to take the methods from these particular domains. Okay.
How can we create that domain?
Yeah, so you have to go to like here setup, and in remote site settings you have to create new remote site setting and put that. Sorry, I think it's nothing. Okay, sorry, it is the full URL. You can name anything. Okay, and save it. You have to make sure that it is active, otherwise it will not allow. Okay, so we have to give underscore. So now you have created one remote site setting. So any of the service which is coming from this domain will be allowed to your Salesforce all. The meaning of the creating of remote site setting is this. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's go to another one. So we will talk SOAP API later. For today, we will just little bit cover on REST side. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So REST service is a light service. When I say light service, it means that it is not very much, I would say, it is loosely coupled. It is not very tightly coupled. So loosely coupled means it is a kind of URI based service. So we have provided the service in a form of URI. Okay. So if the external system is exposing their methods, so their method will be exposed in a form of URI. So you have to hit that URL and to get those methods exposed. Okay. Any doubt? So let's say you have a web service, a REST web service from an external system. So you have the internet in between. So the Salesforce method or Salesforce action will request for that URI. So it will be in the protocol of HTTP. So HTTP protocol or HTTPS protocol. Pardon? Anybody's talking?
No, sir.
Okay. So if you follow this HTTP protocol, so that request will go to another system as a HTTP request. Okay. So whenever we want to call any web service, we have to send an HTTP request to external system. So where we will send it, there will be an endpoint which we have to hit. Okay. And after hitting the endpoint, that particular method in that system will get executed.
So sorry, one more explanation. One more time.
Yeah. Any question?
Yeah, one more time it's explained. Sir. I can't understand what is.
Oh, you want me to repeat?
Yeah.
So, so whenever, let's say you are as in Salesforce, right? Because we will talk only for Salesforce.
Yeah.
In the Salesforce, you want to call a REST web service. Okay. So you got the URL of the web service. Okay. And you want to hit that web service. Fine. So for hitting or calling that web service, you have to send an HTTP request that, hey, I just want to have this method, so I'm just requesting for it. Okay. In that sense. So that request will go over the internet through the HTTP protocol, and then it will receive to the external system. Okay. The external system will identify the HTTP request, and it will internally execute that method. Okay, so that method will get executed and the result will be sent to back to the caller. So for an our example, it is Salesforce. So it will get back to the Salesforce as a HTTP response. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are 4 types of methods. Okay. I think there are 5, but let's say especially there are 4 only. Uh, we have called get method. So get method is something when, let's say I just want a list of users from external system. Okay, so I will call that URI, which will give me the list of users, and I will use the HTTP method get in there because I just want to get the list of users. Okay,
Yes.
then second is post. Let's say I just want to create, it's like insert. Okay, I just want to create any particular record in the external system. So I would use post method. Okay, so any kind of insertion we require into the external system, so we will call up post method. Okay,
Okay, sir.
and let's say you have created something. Let's say we are talking about user. So I have created a user in the external system, and now I want the user name or user email to be changed, right? So basically I want to update. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so in the update I have to use put method. Okay, and last but not the least is like when I want to delete my resource, whatever I have created already in that system, so I have to use the delete HTTP method. Okay, any question?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's say I just hit this URL directly, although there are some conditions, is like most of the URLs are having an authentication. So for authentications we will go later because this is the URL. I think they don't require the authentication, so they are just directly giving me the results. Okay, so it is a kind of method in this particular app. Okay, so that is a Heroku app, and in the Heroku app they have created a web service. So in the web service they have this animals method. Okay, so that method has been returning this result to me. Okay, so this result is in the form of JSON. You know about JSON, right? Everybody knows about JSON, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a format of JSON they are returning. So in the REST service we can have two formats. One is JSON and another is XML. So both service can be written as a JSON format or as an XML format. Here they are written as JSON format. So whenever we hit this URL or we will request an HTTP, so it will be giving us the result in the JSON format. And then this particular JSON has to be parsed and shown to our own system. Like in Salesforce, we have to parse this result and show as it is, or whenever, whichever format we want. Okay. So whenever we request any resource from external system, so there will be a kind of status code which will be 200 if it is successful. If it is not successful, we will be getting these kind of error like
Or not for
both,
okay, sir.
like file not found, 500 any internet server error. These kind of error message will be returned, and based on error message, can you go please one of the mute?
Sir.
Anybody, I'm hearing background, so please go on the mute who is not talking. So there could be error will be returning if the request could not go successful. Okay. So you can read this note. In addition to endpoint and HTTP method, you can set other properties for request. For example, a request can contain headers that provide more information about the request, such as content type. So when we want to request a REST service, we have to provide some parameters as well. So for now, we are not doing anything, but like this is a very simple example. So we are not providing much headers here. But when actually scenario, we will be providing some headers as well. We will talk about that, but for now, just understand that we will be providing especially the content type. So what kind of content we are requesting, and maybe the authentications whenever it requires. So we have to provide authentications, authorizations, these kind of things, so that we should be allowing the external system should be allowing us to fetch the information to identify that we are a genuine request. We have the token with us, that we will provide a token to that, and we will be able to enter into that system. Okay. So in the post, we will also require whatever data we want to send to external system. So we have to insert some kind of object details which we need to send to external system. So that object will be again in the format of JSON or XML, whichever format we want. Okay. Now, let's say we have this URL given, this URL, which is returning us JSON, and we want to request this particular URI. Okay, so we have already registered this domain in our remote site setting. Okay, so what we will do, we will just copy this code and we will paste it over in developer console. In the anonymous window. Okay. So here what we are doing, we are creating an HTTP. HTTP is required. So to call it is a kind of class we have in Salesforce. So if you check HTTP class Salesforce, okay. So we have HTTP class, we have HTTP request class, we have HTTP response class. There are classes available to help us to get those things from external system. So these are the methods available. If you go to HTTP class, so we have only two methods, send and toString. Fine. And again, the HTTP request class is having these many methods: get body document, headers. So you can go through these developers. if you have to, just to have a look here, like what all the methods are available, what are the uses of that. So for our small example, we will just create a HTTP request. This is the same request which we will going to create to send it to external system. Okay, so what we have to do, which is required, is to we have to set an endpoint. So endpoint is something, so what is the address we have? Okay, endpoint is nothing but the address where we have to head the where we will be getting our web service. So this is the endpoint. So whenever you will be working on any kind of integrations, so you will always be having an endpoint provided. So that endpoints you have to hit. Okay, and then you have to set the methods. So we remember we have discussed 4 methods: get, post, put, and delete, right? So here, because we are just fetching the details, so we will just set the method as get. Okay, once we have done this, again I will say that when we have the HTTP request, we will have another header settings, and so these header settings has to be used for authorization purpose especially. So let's just they have created HTTP response. So once we got this request created, we have this HTTP class object created, and this has the method called send. And in the send, we have to pass parameter of type HTTP request. For here, it is the request of request variable. So we are passing this request into this HTTP, and when we call this method as send, it will hit that external system, and we will get the response. Okay. Once we get the response, we will check if the response is successful or not. So for successful, we have to check the status code as 200. Okay, so response have a method called get status code. So if we got the successful response, we have this JSON class which has a deserialized untyped. So it actually convert the JSON body to as a map. So remember we have this just a minute. Oh, sorry. Am I sharing my screen?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Is it visible?
I'm waiting.
Yes.
So we are getting this as a JSON, and we will convert this JSON as a map. So when I say as a map, like this will be the key, and this will be a list of string, and list of string, right? It is an array, so it will be list of string. So we have sorry, okay. So we have a map as a string, and maybe they have created as object. So we will just take it as object, and you can just unnotice for this, just for maybe you can just print the request response dot get body here, just to check how it looks. Let's just do that. Okay, here. Okay. So we will get result as this map. This is our some methods which will untype, because we will get as JSON, so it will untype, change this as another type. So it will change into this format, map of string and object. So once we get this map.get means this will the key of the map. So here it will be like animals as a key, and the rest of this array will be as a object. Okay. So this object will again get converted into list of objects. So we will be having different animals here, and then we are just printing this list here. Okay. So what do you think what will be the possible output? Anybody? What it should print? Hello?
Yes, sir.
What
Sir.
it should print?
And animal is the key, it's going to be print. The object of animals is going to
No, what it will print here?
objects.
Object animal.
Yeah, it will print the name of the animals.
Animals.
Majestic
Yes.
Burger, Fluffy Bunny, these kind of. Okay, let's see the
Yes.
output. Let's go on. Please. See, the response body will come the same as we seen, right?
Yes, sir.
And receiving the following element, it is just separating all this. You can see here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So that is something, this particular thing or this particular piece of code you can directly place into your function, and you will just get these result, and you can display it on your Visual Force page or any of your Lightning component,
Okay, sir.
right? So that is how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
So far, any question?
Sir, what is the difference between put and set? Post.
And put and post.
Yeah.
Post is for insert. You are going to insert a new record.
Create.
Create, yeah.
New record or
Create.
Yeah.
Create. And put is again
What is
like
about
it
put, sir?
can replace like update, majorly on the update side.
Okay. There is create also.
Create is also there, but majorly we use post only for create.
Okay.
Now this is for getting purpose, and another example they are showing for update creating. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this as well. So just have a look on this code. Same like creating HTTP, same HTTP request, same endpoint, but method is changed here because we are going to
Post.
create. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now we have the header as well. So the header is like content type. What content type we are going to provide to post it? So it will be JSON. Okay. So there is a format we have to specify, like application/JSON, and there is a character set UTF-8. These are the specific format you have to provide because your content would be in this format. So the external system will be reading this content into this particular format. Okay, so your content type will be application JSON especially. So if it is like XML, then you have to write it here XML. Okay. So then you are setting a body. Okay, this is the format because you have provided as JSON. So you are going to set the body as a JSON format. So you are providing that the name parameter, and what is the value of
Mighty
this
mouse.
parameter is mightly mouse. So you are going
Mighty
to create a
mouse.
mightly mouse. Okay.
Yes.
Majorly what happens is like this animals, it will be method. So this method will be taking a parameter called name. Okay.
Mighty.
And we are passing the value of name as a mighty mouse. We will also see an example like how we create the REST service in Salesforce. So then you will get more idea about it. Okay, so it will be like a parameter is there in the method called name, like this. Okay, let's say if it is Java or something. Okay, public string. So it's the method name could be anything else, but URL will be this. So it will be like a string called name. Okay, so we are passing this name as mightly moose.
Mighty.
Okay, so internally in this method, they are creating or inserting the record. Okay. So we have set our, we have created our request. Same thing,
Yes, sir.
we will just send it. And yeah, here you have to notice that we are going to set the method as post. So for the post, the response should be checked as 201. For get it is 200, but for post it is 201. Okay. 201
Not
is
equals
like,
to 20.
yeah, 201 means the insertion or post has happened. Okay.
Okay.
If it is not 201, that means it is not inserted successfully or we got any kind of error. Until unless they are not handling it. Sometimes what happens like they are returning the string saying that no, they have handled the error and then they have written the string. So that could be any another thing like we have to check if it is the status code is 201. That means the method has executed, but for the response we have to check what they have returned. Okay, let's go and run this. Okay, see the debug log. So they have inserted mightly moves.
Yes.
Okay, so there are 1 2 3 4 here, 1 2 3 4 5 here. Okay, this is not gone to that system, but I think they have just show it. Ideally it should go, but I think this response is not, they are not actually inserting it. We will see some other example someday where we will actually see that. Any doubt so far like in this post or get?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. For this call out, test call out, you can just ignore it, but it is just a way of creating your test class. Okay. So when we have consumed the REST service, that this in the test method, it will not directly call your REST URL. So there are ways to make it possible. So you have to create your mock request or kind of mock test class, which will help you to cover your result, your code. Okay. So this is the way we have to write a test class for web service if we are implementing it in our code. Maybe we can take it later if you require it. Okay. This is just for test classes purpose. So when you call your actual web service in your Apex methods, to cover your test coverage, you have to create a mockup class, which will be derived from this HTTP mockup, callout mockup, and then you have to write the test class in this way. So you have to create your own set of data there, and then you have to call this mockup. Okay. So for today, I'm just covering this much. I will search for any other example which is outside of this trailhead and will present you on that.